Do you think that frame can really hit the target? The trainer burst into laughter as the young woman stepped forward. Her slight build, a stark contrast to the other recruits, drew mocking chuckles from the group. Some pretended to stagger back dramatically, as though she had no chance. But she didn't respond. She simply adjusted her stance and raised her hand to fix her posture. As her shirt shifted slightly, a dark ink drawing caught the eyes of everyone nearby. A serpent wrapped around a bullet, its design precise and intentional. The colonel, observing nearby, froze for a moment, a subtle recognition dawning. He leaned toward his partner. That's the mark of the Black Viper unit. Her name was Maria Kessler, 28, a new recruit from Eastern Europe. Tall, with dark hair neatly tied back, and eyes that seemed to have seen things most could never imagine. She had a quiet presence, arriving before everyone else each morning, cleaning the rifles without being asked, and speaking only when necessary. The others quickly nicknamed her the Silent Shadow, or simply the Ghost. During her first exercise, she didn't fire a single shot. Instead, she spent the day observing, focusing on the wind and the movement of the trees. When asked why she wasn't shooting, her response was calm. "I've shot before," she said, her voice steady, "but I won't shoot again until I'm certain I'm ready." The group laughed, their voices dripping with mockery. "What? Are you waiting for the targets to give up?" one of them joked. But Maria didn't flinch. The way she carefully cleaned her weapon, adjusted the sight, and calculated the wind speed with a precision that couldn't be faked made their mockery feel hollow. "Why aren't you shooting?" Sergeant McKenna, the head instructor, asked bluntly. Maria only replied, "I need to remember why I stopped." Her words were thick with something deeper than hesitation. There was a heaviness in her voice that made the entire range feel colder. Maria continued her routine every day, arriving first, staying last, and taking care of everyone's gear. No one ever understood why, but she never stopped. One evening, Sergeant McKenna found her in the darkness, still working on the rifles. "Maria, what are you doing?" she whispered, making sure they're ready. "For what?" he asked. Her eyes met his briefly, and for a split second, something ancient flickered in them. For when someone needs them to work perfectly. It was during live fire training that the others got their first real sense of Maria's skill. She was forced to go first, despite having never fired a live round. The instructor barked, "One shot only." "Miss, and you're out." Maria didn't respond. She simply wiped the barrel of her rifle, adjusted her stance, and, as she did, the snake tattoo became visible again. A symbol the colonel recognized immediately. "It's a Black Viper mark," he muttered, his face paling. A hush fell over the recruits as they processed the words. The Black Viper unit was a legend, a name whispered in the shadows. They were an elite force, capable of performing missions in situations where no one else could survive. An operation called the Last Stand had decimated them. No one had survived, except for Maria. The colonel, still visibly shaken, stepped closer. "How many were in your team?" he asked softly. 12, Maria answered, her voice barely audible. "And how many returned?" Maria didn't hesitate. "You're looking at her." The others, still unaware of the unit's history, felt the weight of her words. The colonel, struggling to keep composure, nodded. "The 12 on your tattoo. It's the number of those you couldn't save, isn't it?" Maria looked at him without flinching. "No, it's the number of the lives I couldn't protect." The recruits fell silent, some understanding, others still lost in confusion. But there was an unspoken respect in the air now. Even Sergeant McKenna had stepped back. The silence was heavy. Finally, the instructor cleared his throat and urged, "Maria, you still need to take your shot." She nodded, stepping up to the line. Everyone watched, but this time there was no mockery in their eyes. The movement was different, smooth, automatic, and precise. She wasn't a novice anymore. She was the real deal. One recruit, Tommy, who had been the loudest in mocking her, called out, "What was Black Viper like?" Her rifle came up to her shoulder, and she paused for just a moment. We were quiet. Very, very quiet. The colonel, now realizing who stood before him, ordered the exercise to stop. "Who gave the order for Maria to go first?" he asked, his voice stern. Everyone stayed silent. But the colonel knew what he had to say. Maria doesn't need training. She once saved me at Hill 9, a shot from nearly a kilometer away. Maria stepped forward. I didn't save you. I did what had to be done to get my team out alive. The recruits didn't know what to say. They stood motionless as she continued. That day was supposed to be a simple mission. Intelligence said 1 sniper. We found 17. The colonel's face grew pale as memories flooded back. We were trapped for hours. You were stuck on the 4th floor, northeast corner, with a head wound, trying to call for backup on a dead radio. You were pinned down. Maria's voice was steady as she continued. How do I know? I was in the clock tower, 873 meters away. I watched you for 6 hours. I took out 11 targets before you even knew I was there. The 12th, he had you in his sights. That's when I took the shot. The colonel's voice trembled as he asked, How did you know? Maria responded simply, Because our intelligence was wrong. It wasn't 1 sniper. It was a coordinated ambush. She turned to face the recruits, now aware of the legend they had been mocking for weeks. You want to know what Black Viper was like? We were the ones sent in when everything else had failed. When every other team had already been wiped out, we went in. And we didn't stop until the job was done. Tommy, who had been one of her harshest critics, raised his hand. How do we become like you? Maria looked at him, but this time her smile wasn't one of triumph. You don't. You become better. You become the person who saves everyone. You become the version of me that comes home with all your teammates. She walked toward the door. Then she paused, glancing over her shoulder. And remember this, the person next to you, the one you think doesn't belong, could be the one who saves your life someday. Treat them like they matter. Before she left, Maria did something unexpected. She took the time to leave personalized notes for each recruit. On them were detailed critiques and tips on improving their shooting technique, along with a training plan that would push them beyond what they thought was possible. At the bottom of each note, she wrote the same words. You're better than you think. Prove it. Years later, when recruits asked about the mysterious Black Viper, Sergeant McKenna would show them the notes and say, she didn't come here to learn. She came here to teach. We were too foolish to realize it. Some warriors don't need to boast about their skills. The true heroes are the ones who've already fought battles that no one will ever hear about. Maria Kessler was one of those. The Black Viper was a name whispered in the shadows, a legend that few would ever truly understand. Never mock those who stay silent. Never laugh at the one who takes care of your weapons without asking. The quiet ones are often the ones who'll save your life when it matters most. They don't need recognition or applause. They just need to know they're ready when the time comes. And sometimes, just sometimes, they need to know that the people they're protecting are worth it. As Maria Kessler's presence faded from the base, her legacy lingered in the air. The recruits who once mocked her now understood the depth of her silence, the weight of her quiet strength. She didn't need to boast about her skills because her actions spoke louder than any words could. She had lived a life few could comprehend, carrying the ghosts of her past with quiet dignity. Her lesson was simple but powerful. True strength isn't about showing off or seeking attention. It's about knowing when to step forward and when to remain in the shadows, ready to protect, ready to act. In the end, Maria wasn't just a sniper. She was a reminder to us all. She reminded the recruits, and us, that it's not the loudest voices in the room that command the most respect, but the ones who stand silently, doing their work with purpose and precision. Those are the people who, when the time comes, will make all the difference. And they do it not for recognition, but because it's the right thing to do.